You are now about to witness the strength of street knowledge.
What's up, everybody? How y'all doing? It is your girl, your diva in knowledge, Lady Mocha, or you can simply just call me Mocha from Mocha's Cafe de Paris. Don't forget, I also have my second channel specifically for the ladies. If you want a safe space and only the women come together and congregate, Mocha's Ladies Lounge. But this is Mocha's Cafe de Paris, my space for men and women, my co-ed channel in which all genders can basically, participate and reiterate on issues going amongst the community or issues going amongst across the world, right? So I thought it was very imperative. It's so much I needed to say regarding the situation, because as all of you should know, if you've been following me for quite some time, I have done corrections, and this whole situation is just totally out of pocket. I knew from day one the math wasn't mathing when there was not technically 10 inmates, but believe it or not, it was 11. They just so happened caught the other one before he can, even flee totally, into the community. So it's technically was 11, but it was 10 who got away. From what I know, 5 is on the loose as of right now. They have not captured all of them, and this is very scary, y'all, because it's going on almost like, I would say almost like a week. I think it's been like 6 days or something like that, 5 or 6 days. And I already knew this whole jail was full of bullshit because of just the fact that 10 inmates got away and they stayed quiet about it for multiple hours, trying to keep a hush-hush because they wanted to try to resolve the matter on their own. But what happened was, when you don't combat the problem, and the fact that they didn't notify everybody the moment it happened, it gave the inmates an advantage in being able to get away for a longer period of time, had they not been trying to be sneaky and slick, trying to take matters in their own hands and not notify the community. And there was just no way they was going to get that under wraps by themselves. That it was too many inmates, right, that got from up under that jail for them to think they was going to be able to hide and conceal and not be straightforward with the public. So basically, I'm looking at the jail more than I am looking at the inmates. And the reason I state this is because, as all of you know, I have done corrections. So I definitely have an eye and I have a knowledge for a lot of the things that transpired that went totally wrong, okay? So just off the muscle, the fact that they had a civilian watching this inmate, supervising these inmates, that was a big no-no. Okay, you never put a civilian in the place of an officer because you're too lazy to either step in as an officer yourself and supervise the inmates, or you don't want to up the pay so there's more individuals that's willing to apply for this position. Let's face it, correctional officers do not get a lot of money. The most highest that I know was probably maybe 40 an hour, but those for veterans, 35 to 40 an hour. Those are for the veterans, those who done made rank like lieutenant and captain. Anybody else underneath, they make the same amount of money per hour that you can make at the Amazon warehouse. The average correctional officer makes every bit of from $16 to $18 an hour. They do not pay officers well enough in this type of profession. And one would think by now You would think these jails, these agencies will understand, in order to get a full staff, especially for that position and what your life is on the line every day. You're dealing with 49ers, you're dealing with rapists, you're dealing with child molesters and all of this or whatever. Oops, rapists, but it's too late for that. Make sure y'all hit that like button, by the way. I appreciate it, right? The fact that you're in a position in which your life is on the line every day, there's no way in hell any officer, rookie or inexperienced, should be getting under $20 an hour. I think the average officer should start off with at least $30 an hour or more. Just starting 30 right off the muscle. Okay? But the problem is the sheriff and these other upper management that is in regulation of the jails. They're the ones that's running the money. They're the ones that is running the program. So they would rather take the funds that the state is supplying and finance their lifestyle and finance things for them versus taking that money and seeing to it that that money is going towards adequate care and security when it comes to these jails. So a lot of people have been talking about this, right? Everybody's been all over this, but the part that I specifically wanted to address to all of you was the jail staff not taking accountability, especially that sheriff. Okay, and I'm gonna play some snippets of that, right? However, it's very long, so I'm gonna have to break this up in parts because I get it. Everybody has a short attention span, and I feel like if this content is over 30 minutes, I'm gonna lose some of y'all. Okay, so I'm just going to address all of the excuses that they come up with during the interview, in which the whole news media, everyone was there, basically grilling the hell out of parish sheriff's office in New Orleans where the 10 inmates escaped. And everybody's been going in, okay, strong. All right, now keep in mind there's several things have transpired since then. They done discovered there was other officers who was aiding in the escape of these inmates. Also, relatives were aiding in the escape of these inmates. So a lot of individuals are facing charges, some heavy charges, because anytime you assist an inmate who has escaped, you automatically get charged for that. And some of them only assisted with giving them food. They got charged. Others assisted by giving them a phone. They got charged. So keep in mind, if you have a nephew or a brother or someone who's escaped prison and they come knocking on your door asking, could I hide out here for a couple of days? Keep in mind, you too will be getting incarcerated. You're going to suffer the same fate because you cannot protect or hide an inmate for but so long. It becomes a burden to you, to your household. Not only that, safety wise, because let's face it, some of these officers are badge heavy. All you need is one bad mishap and you end up with the nasty officer, you know, who comes to your door that roughs you up, handles you, you get hurt or injured, all because you're trying to protect an inmate. So it's not worth the aggravation and the trouble and the consequences that's going to come behind it. So this is the part in which I wanted to reiterate on. The fact that the staff was up here lying and the excuses they was coming up with, I wanted to literally jump through that screen. Because I knew better. You know what I mean? Especially because I've been in this type of profession. So I'm going to I guess I'll show one or two snippets of the story just to put y'all up on game so y'all can kind of get a refresher as to what has transpired, right? So let's get to it. Let's get to it.
Louisiana News at 6 begins with breaking news.
Right now, 5 men are still on the run, exactly 1 week after a historic escape at the Orleans Parish Jail. And tonight, more people are accused of helping. That includes another inmate, Trevin Williams, who also was jailed at the time of the escape, and Casey Smith, whose bond was set this afternoon. Alyssa Curtis was there.
There's been some inconsistencies with how many men Casey Smith may have helped, but today in court, the Attorney General's office says she helped drive around 3 inmates nearly a week after they broke out of jail, but her lawyer says she was simply in the car with her cousin and didn't know who the men were. According to the Attorney General's office, Smith had, quote, disregard for the law and put, quote, numerous citizens at risk by aiding and abetting the escape of some of the most dangerous men. They say she confessed to driving them around the city and actively participated. But Smith's lawyer says the main bad actor was Smith's cousin, Courtney Harris. Harris was arrested Wednesday. Smith's lawyer says Smith was in the car when her cousin got a call and picked up 3 men. She says Smith did not know who they were and didn't need to ask them to identify themselves. It's unclear who they helped, but court records show Harris helped Leo Tate and Jermaine Donald, who are still on the run. The AG's office asked that Smith be held on no bond. The judge set it for $1 million. Today in court, we also learned about another attempted escape that happened earlier this month. 2 men appeared in court today for an attempted escape the judge says happened May 1st. According to the judge, cameras caught 2 men helping a third get through the ceiling, but he didn't get far as he fell not too long after. We reached out to OPSO for more information, but have not yet heard back. Reporting at Criminal District Court, Alyssa Curtis, WWL, Louisiana.
And just moments ago, we learned about another arrest of an accomplice. We'll have more on that tonight at 10. Meanwhile, more than 100 law enforcement officers are searching for the 5 inmates that are still on the run and now a week out from the jailbreak. Eleanor Tabone did some digging and she shares more on what we learned about these men.
Oh, I remember him from a baby. Like any other child, Derek Groves was...
Okay, I'm not going to go all into... Basically, she just explains how she knew him, how she helped kind of raise him, how she played a part, you know, somewhat in his upbringing and how disappointed she was in him escaping. So I'm just going to get to the main stuff at hand.
Orleans Parish District Attorney Jason Williams is scared. He says not of what Groves did, but of what he might do next.
2 of the lawyers who I tried that case with, who successfully went forward, able to get a conviction on that case, these lawyers got out of town this weekend with their families out of fear of retribution.
Antoine Massey doesn't belong on an ankle monitor. Antoine Massey doesn't belong on the first floor of an unsupervised pod.
According to documents WWL Louisiana got, investigators say 33-year-old Sterling Williams, a jail maintenance worker, is facing charges after he confessed to helping the inmates escape. The document...
Okay, so I want to kind of pause right here. There's a lot of deficiencies within this jail, and that is the main part that I'm focusing on, the deficiencies in the jail as a whole. It's a lot of consecrators already covering the details as far as the escape within itself, how many have been captured, how many still on loose. The concern to me is the deficiencies of the jail. As I stated before, this jail is very sloppy, and it just sounds like to me it's a lot of laziness, it's a lot of lack of professionalism, and all of that rolled in one. Just going back a little bit, basically on this part, when he basically stated because of the escape, how so many individuals are fearful of their safety, and they have every reason to be. Every prosecutor that went toe-to-toe with these inmates and played a part in their incarceration, victims, witnesses, all of these individuals, y'all got to realize it's 10 inmates who was incarcerated. So imagine how many prosecutors, district attorneys, imagine how many witnesses, imagine the victims' families. That's very well could be over like 300-400 people. You get what I'm saying? Like, if we're talking about 10 inmates, right? And all of this is a poor reflection, but it's going to be other things that I'm going to point out to y'all as well. So just off the strength of these inmates escaping, the whole community is in danger. And even the ones who are not victims, you can possibly become one, because these guys are fearful themselves. They don't know what they're up against out there. And then on top of that, they got to survive. They got to eat. They got to sleep. They're going to need money. While they on the run, you know what I mean? Being on the run is very exhausting. And it can cause for desperate measures because you don't have the sources you need in order to survive out there. You know, you need money to eat. You need your clothes washed. You need to find a place in which you can be stable and rest peacefully. If nobody's not willing to take you in, just running the streets every night, every day, hiding in corners, it becomes a bit overwhelming and very stressful. But the whole community is in danger because this jail failed to do their job. Okay, so now that they know these individuals on the loose, the other part I found disturbing was they had a maintenance worker. They had a maintenance worker, Sterling Williams, to supervise these inmates. Never ever, and all jails know better than that. You never use a civilian to replace a certified trained officer when it comes to inmates. So for a maintenance technician to have to supervise the jail, that speaks volumes. One, that means you don't have enough of adequate staffing, because even if an officer called out or went on break or had to go grab lunch, whatever, you should have had another officer to replace that officer until that officer got back. You never use a civilian to do the duties of a correctional officer. For one, they don't have the training. For two, they can easily be more manipulated. Hell, you got officers that are trained that are manipulated. So imagine people who have no type of experience in inmates as far as like supervising them being in that situation. Okay. Mr. Sterling is a maintenance technician there. Basically, he implied that he did what he was told out of the fear of his safety of his life. That's a catch-22, because my thing is, unless at that moment in time they put a knife to your neck or something and told you at that moment, you know, to accommodate them with being able to escape, that's a different story, because basically you was pressured at that moment in time and your life at that moment in time was on the line. That inmate had a weapon in which he can harm you. But the thing is this, there's nothing indicating that he was threatened for his safety with a weapon or anything at that moment in time, which means that, let's say if an inmate did threaten him and say, hey, if you don't, we need you to do us a favor, and if you don't look out, whoop-de-woo, we're going to come after you, we're going to do this and do that. That was his moment then to address it to one of the upper management or the other officers, say, hey, y'all got me in charge of these guys, y'all got me supervising them, and they are threatening me to help them aid in escaping. So with his situation, I really don't know if I can really spare him too much grace, because if he had time to go and tell someone, then that is what he should have did. Unless they had a weapon right then and there, took him into that cell, held him hostage, you know, put a shank up to his neck, you better do this right now, you better help us escape at this moment, then yeah, I can kind of see that. But that is not what's being reported. But we'll go ahead to the next part.
A jail maintenance worker is facing charges after he confessed to helping the inmates escape. The documents say he acted under the orders from escaped inmate Antoine Massey, who allegedly threatened to shank him if he refused, though Williams' attorney denies that account.
Now, Massey, this wonderful gentleman here, he is what I call an officer's worst nightmare. First of all, this is another error on the jail's behalf. This guy has already a history of escaping 4 times from different jails. So why the hell was a known escapee put in general population? That is crazy work. Anytime you have an individual that's entering the jail with that type of history, you never ever put them in general population, because they have a major influence on being able to manipulate other inmates into doing the same thing. This guy here is hella badass. I mean, definitely a certified menace to society. And y'all are going to put him in general population with a non-certified officer. And don't think this dude is not going to threaten somebody's safety and well-being to get what he wants his way. The dude is ruthless. They allowed this dude to be put in a unit with a uncertified, untrained, non-certified officer, civilian employee. And for civilian employees, basically that's anybody who works in the jail that's not an officer. A janitor, cafeteria lady, what else? Maintenance tech, you know, any of those. Well, they don't never have janitors because they make the inmates do all the cleaning and stuff. But anybody who's not an officer is civilian. Like a nurse, that would be considered civilian worker. Let's continue.
Assured Supervision Accountability Program, or ASAP, an electronic monitoring company, says Massey has been escaping for years, dating back to 2007.
In November of 2023, Antoine Massey was ordered into our ankle monitor program, and he was placed on ankle monitor, and 2 very short hours later, he cut his ankle monitor off.
Also, among the escapees still on the run is 26-year-old Lenton Van Buren. He's accused of second-degree murder. Then there's 31-year-old Leo Tate, wanted on multiple gun and drug charges as well as burglary. The oldest of the group, 42-year-old Jermaine Donald, is awaiting trial for a second-degree murder charge. I asked LSP if the search for the inmates is limited to Louisiana or it's nationwide. They could not confirm whether the search has moved beyond the state, but they did say they're working with all local, state and federal partners and using all available resources to track down the fugitives. Eleanor Tabone, WWL, Louisiana.
And they're using all available sources, which should have been avoided to begin with, right? But this is the part in which I really wanted us to focus on. I want y'all to catch and peep the lies. Some of y'all are not, because you don't have, you never worked in a facility or correctional institution. Some of these details is going to go in over your head. But anybody who's been in corrections or just has goddamn common sense will be able to pick up and know that these jokers are lying. And it couldn't have happened at a worse time, y'all, because the New Orleans Parish Sheriff has an election coming up. And y'all are going to be blowed at the excuses that she comes up with. I want y'all to definitely be in on this, because it's some things that they're leaving out that I want all of you to be aware of. So this is basically, right, and I'm going to tell you, this is one of the most heated interviews that I have seen in many, many years, when the media and sheriff's office, you know, this was a very, very ugly, heated discussion. And I'm glad that the media did not take it easy on them, because let me tell you something. These agencies, these correctional institutions, they always want to stress the significance of honesty and accountability and standing on business. And it never seems to amaze me that whenever they mess up and the shoe is on the other foot, they very well do not produce the very thing that they're supposed to be teaching inmates, that they're supposed to be teaching lower ranked officer, is the importance of integrity, of accountability and professionalism. And this whole situation has tainted all of that for them. But as we go through the video, I'm going to stop and pause. Again, the goal is to keep it down to 30 minutes. Well, shit, it's already 24. Okay, so I'm going to try to keep it down to 40. So let me just get to it, and then I'm going to have to break it up in parts because I don't want this video to be too long. We'll see. Let's go.
Information on their whereabouts, we're asking you call 1-800-CALL-FBI or submit a tip online to fbi.gov/New Orleans fugitives.
Okay, I'm gonna fast forward to some parts.
Monitor, and we rely on.
Cause I want the officers to do the talking. Okay, this is when she's gonna step up and talk, and I'm going to be stopping and interjecting to reiterate. I will leave the link to the bottom, that way if you want to hear the whole thing without my mouth, you'll be able to do that. But I'm going to be doing a lot of interjecting, just FYI.
We observed on the video later this morning. We had to pull that.
He said you observed that.
No, let me go back, because I want y'all to hear how this media be grilling her. Okay.
Yeah, is there any indication that friends or family on the outside were aware in advance or communicating about these plans?
And we're not going to get into the details of the investigation, Major Phipps, but we're looking at all angles.
What does it say, and I mean this respectfully, but you said, and I'm going to quote you here, that you observed those guys running out at 1 o'clock in the morning. What does it say for jailhouse safety and security when you see a jailbreak like that, but you fail to notify anyone? NOPD, the public, anyone?
We didn't say that.
What did you say then?
Yeah. We observed on the video later this morning. We had to pull that
He
video
said you
back.
observed at 1 a.m.
So let's be clear. I said what we observed on the video through the investigation. So yes, when they looked at the video this morning after the staff realized they were gone, my investigators found that at 1 a.m. that's what happened.
So no one was watching live video all night at the jail?
I won't say no one was watching live video.
Then how did nobody see them leaving the jail?
There are over 900 cameras.
How did nobody see them leaving the jail?
There are over 900 cameras.
I know, it's just, how did no one see a massive jailbreak?
Okay, so I want to pause there. All right. Okay, so yeah, this is the problem. Y'all have 900 cameras, but not one person noticed 10 inmates. Y'all noticed 1 in the morning, and keep in mind this video is from 7 days ago, right? So this is when it first initially happened. More and more details have come out since then, and I'm gonna update y'all on whatever new lies and new excuses they've come up with. But this looks bad, because that means no one is using the cameras. If you got 900 cameras there, somebody should have spotted these inmates leaving. Now, it could be some reasons behind that. Either one, you don't have anybody monitoring the cameras, and in that position, you should automatically have officers who just specifically monitor videos. You should have somebody monitoring just the footage. That way, they can alert anyone and everyone else, and they don't have other stuff they have to do to be distracted from monitoring the videos. But you can't have an officer who's supposed to mind the inmates and mind camera footage. You assign different people to do specific duties. That way everybody has that one task to focus on, and it eliminates the chances of something being overlooked. Someone should have been assigned to a booth that specifically watches cameras 24 hours. The last jail I was at, everybody had access to cameras where we was able to check other units other than ours or whatever the case may be. But we also had officers who had a specific task to just specifically monitor the monitors. So either, like I said, y'all didn't have adequate staffing to be able to assign someone to only watch cameras, or y'all cheap as hell, got cameras that's outdated, that's not really alerting y'all of anytime there's an escape. Let's face it, a lot of these jails are cheap. They don't want to do right with the state money, so they want to try to cut corners, get cheap cameras that's probably still running off of broadband. Not only that, where are the cameras positioned? Do y'all have enough of them positioned to where you can see pretty much every angle at what's going on throughout the jail? But yeah, I just wanted to bring that up about the cameras. Hit the like button for me, y'all. Let's go.
The why and how is part of the investigation. So we have interviewed, I think, all of our employees, and we are interviewing all of the residents of that particular pod as well. And then there's a lot of people that you've got to wade through their interviews to find out, to get down to the details of what happened. There was somebody on duty.
Sheriff, the source told us that
there was somebody on duty. So basically what they're trying to do is fish through to see who they could pass the bucks on. This is what a lot of agencies do when it comes to law enforcement. There's no loyalty within law enforcement. Make no mistake about it. That blue brotherhood code or blue sisterhood code does not apply, especially when the grits hit the fan. They're investigating, not to really get down to the root of the problem, but what they're trying to do is find the fall guy. Find the person whom they can blame to take the heat off of them. But even with that, you can't blame 10 inmates escaping just on the merit of one person. But we will continue.
Monitored over the past week, and escaped inmates were planning how they were going to get out through phone calls. Were y'all monitoring phone calls?
We monitor phone calls all the time. There are 1,400 people in this jail, over the city council 1250 limit. So can you monitor every single person every day? No, we don't have the bodies to do that. But we do monitor, and we rely on tips, and we have an intelligence unit that monitors what's going on in the jail. There's a lot of things at any given time going on.
And let me also add this. The reason why you can't monitor a lot of phone calls, because the truth is a lot of these inmates got their own cell phones. Okay, officers are smuggling it in. Y'all just being sloppy. Y'all being lazy. Y'all not checking the packages of what their loved ones send to them when it comes through the mail or whatever the case is. So she's talking in reference to just phones throughout the jail, but that doesn't negate the fact that these inmates could get their own phones. We see it all the time. So that's another safety hazard when it comes to operating in these jails.
Job to monitor every single person in this facility every day.
Visually, with our deputies on the pods.
Yes, Shady, as they have a question, the former sheriff, Marlon Gusman, he disputes the claims that there were a lot of issues here at the facility after he left. Do you stand by your statement about the issues with it? And also we learned that you have a $14 million fund balance. Why wasn't that money used to repair the locks? If you could talk about that.
Okay, so the former sheriff, before she got elected to take his place, even he co-signed that the jail had its issues, but nah, it ain't none of the issues that she's trying to make it out to be. She's basically trying to save face. She's trying to save her ass, trying to save her pension, trying to save her reputation. And it's not looking good, because even a former sheriff was like, nope, can't go for that. That's not, we didn't have them kind of issues when I was running the jail. Not only that, they want to know what's been going on with the funds. You know, all of the funds that the state is giving you, these locks should be updated. These cells should be updated. I mean, I know the jail is probably older than the Underground Railroad. You're supposed to be taking the funds and getting the jail maintenance every so many years. You got to replace the toilets. You have to replace the screws, little things that loosen up over time that inmates can make weapons out of. Something is not right with the budget, because something as simple as locks, you should have been paying. You get enough money from the state to take care of something as simple as locks. So the media asked right, and I'm glad they grilling them like, what is going on with the money?
I can speak more intelligent, I believe, to the physical plan in the jail.
Notice she didn't have an answer for that. And you the sheriff. She backed up, and somebody else had to step in. All of this, there ain't no way in hell they gonna vote for her to become sheriff next. Whoever wants to become the sheriff of New Orleans, this is the perfect time to run up against Katrina. I forgot what the lady's last name is. But this is the perfect time to run up against her, because she's looking real bad right now. She's looking like a herb at this point. She couldn't even answer that. She backed up from that mic real. Let's go.
Set a design, but at some point this jail was planned, and it was obviously planned to be a minimum custody facility. I don't know what the dynamics of the population was in New Orleans as far as those incarcerated around that time, but that is not the dynamic now. Right now we have 24 pods. And 90% of those pods are populated with high security inmates. Those are people that are predatory, assaultive, violent, and aggressive. So we're in the process now of developing an ad-seg unit because we identified a large number of individuals that needed to be on some type of restrictive.
Ad-seg. Y'all should have had that from the beginning. It's sad that they don't even have an ad-seg unit, y'all. Ad-seg is basically for inmates that are high risk that should not even be in general population. We're talking about the rapists, the murderers, serial killers, people, inmates that are on a more extreme level compared to an inmate that may be in there for probation violation or carrying a weapon, something minor, something like that. They are not even supposed to be housed with or in the same unit with other inmates who have less severe charges. It's too much of a safety risk hazard because they become a liability to the inmates that don't have the charges that they have, if that makes sense. For instance, if you got a rapist who know he's going to be facing 20, 30 years, why would you house him in a unit with somebody who has a probation violation charge to where they may only get 2-3 months and then the rest is on paper? Do you understand the liability of what they're putting the less threat inmates in with the high risk inmates? That all of that is crazy work. That means they've been putting all of them in the same unit, and that's dangerous. You got the murderers with dudes that's probably in there for just traffic citations. You got the rapists in housed in the same unit with guys that's probably just there for a battery charge or something, a fight with their baby mama, simple minor stuff. That is terrible. That is highly terrible. And how I know they messed up with that, because from the 10 inmates that escaped, some of those guys didn't even have heavy charges. But this is what happens when you allow low risk inmates to be housed with high risk inmates. The high risk inmates, they have more of a major influence because they've been in and out the system for the majority of their career, of their criminal career. And in many cases, some of them are even older than the young, new inmates that are probably in there for minor charges. And even if there's inmates coming in for charges that's just as severe, you don't need experienced, high-risk criminals influencing or dictating and encouraging young, inexperienced inmates to behave in the manner in which they have in. So that's sad, y'all. They didn't even have an ag-seg. Oh my gosh. Now y'all talking about doing that. Now y'all gonna have a separate department. This lady, I know her job is gone. Let's continue.
That did not exist at this facility. So it's plenty of deficiencies when we start to talk about the physical plant. So it's not correct to say that those things didn't exist, because they're prevalent.
This jail opened in 2015 until 2022. They never had a jailbreak. So when you say it's not built for that, or it's not ready, they never had a jailbreak from 2015 to 2022 like this.
The sheriff says it all the time. She talks about the 83% recidivism rate. So you got people in and out of here all the time. So they've been here and
but you just said this is a minimum security.
No, I said
it's a minimum security facility.
I said it was built, had to be built for a minimum. So
they had maximum security inmates in here from 2015 to 2022.
You started talking about
listen, y'all see how ugly this is getting? Yes, because the whole community is pissed. They want real answers, and y'all giving all of this merry-go-round explanation for why it has gotten this far out of hand.
I don't know of a max security inmate. Right now they have an objective classification system in place. I don't know if that was in place to identify properly if there were max security. It may have been.
And that's a big problem. Whenever you get inmates into a facility, you have to do what's called a classification, meaning the most ruthless, high risk, major threat to society, they need to be housed in a different unit. Doesn't even sound like the sheriff implemented a proper classification program. And for that, they should have had somebody. They should have had civilians that are experienced and being able to research the inmate's criminal history and basically house him in a different unit based off the fact that he is a habitual offender. You don't put a habitual offender with a first-time violator. They didn't even have a classification. They were just throwing them all together, and that's terrible. Now it's all starting to make sense how it got so bad, how it got so far out of hand. Let's go.
We know now, based on our objective criteria, that we do have people that are classified at a higher security level than what this particular facility was built for.
Yeah, Chief,
Talking about maintenance and service contracts at this time in place. Is there maintenance and service contracts in place? We're talking about failures within the pod. Is there a maintenance and service contract in place? Travis has asked multiple questions. We're asking another question. Is there a maintenance and service contract in place?
I tell you, that man behind the mic got some patience. That's too many people. It's funny because the tables have turned, and the law that's used to doing all the interrogating, they're the ones getting interrogated. It's just the irony. Hit the like button.
In there, right, who had already been convicted, and he was in among these 10, right? Were they in separate cells, and he was in a minimum security area?
Everyone here is two to a cell. And that's what we have. And we've been in constant communication with anybody that's been convicted with the Department of Corrections to come and pick up those individuals that have been convicted. We have 78 individuals right now. We've been in communication with the Department of Corrections. And they're assured us that they're going to come and get these.
So what about Derek?
Now, I will also say this. That is kind of true. Unfortunately, when an inmate has been convicted, these prisons take their time. Or if not the prisons, it's the prisons take their time either coming to pick them up, or the jail is limited on having enough staff to transport these individuals to the next prison. That way that'll make room. And it eliminates or reduces the overcrowding. This is another big problem with a lot of jails and a lot of facilities. They don't get these inmates out of jail and ship them off to prison quick enough as soon as they're convicted. There's no way that after an inmate has been convicted and sentenced to doing 20-25 years, you don't leave that individual in the county jail, in which other individuals probably only been convicted for 2 months or to do 6 months. The ones who have been sentenced to serving a long substantial amount of time over 10 years or more, you definitely don't want to let them sit there too long. And I would say the jail, a lot of jails have this problem. They don't get these inmates out quick enough. They don't transport them, ship them off to a prison. And the last jail I worked at, I knew individuals who have been convicted and been there for 6-7 years. And not only that, it's ones who have not been convicted yet, who's sitting there for 6-7 years waiting to be told when they prison sentence, waiting to see if when they even going to go to trial. So I would say the courts also play a role in that. They take their time convicting them. All the ones who have been convicted, the jails take their time getting them up out of there. So that's a big issue too. What happens is the longer you take to transport these guys, the unit keeps filling up, because while they're sitting there waiting to be transported, you got new inmates that are coming in, steady getting booked in, steady getting processed in, and it causes a lot of overcrowdedness within the jail system. And anytime there's overcrowdedness, you already know the chaos is not coming too far from behind it.
I'm not familiar with Derek Rose. If he's been sentenced, I know he's been here for a long period of time. So if he's been recently sentenced, that's great. He would have been on our list. He may be aware of that. He would be on our list to go to the Department of Corrections. But the Department of Corrections and Public Safety have worked with us to move several inmates that have been sentenced. They come twice a week. I just got off the phone when I stepped out here then with the Department of Corrections to identify how many individuals we have that have been sentenced, that are taking up space, that are high security people, that have long sentences, and they all are violent.
And what's being done to protect the witnesses in that case? Is there something being done to protect the witnesses who testified against him in that case?
That's what Captain meant to address earlier. All those have been in contact.
Talking about the
Go ahead, Chris.
talking about the pods and the deteriorating conditions, is there a maintenance and service contract in place to make repairs? And we're also hearing that critical cameras were down for weeks.
We have
Yeah, I would also like to reiterate on that. Yes, you have a lot of these jails, they're so cheap within the budget. They will not pay to get stuff maintenance regularly. They will not pay to have people come in and inspect these locks and the deficiencies within the jail. Again, because they're doing other stuff with the money. But I'm going to listen to what her excuse is behind it.
Bianca Brown to talk more about that.
Hi, so I'm Bianca Brown. So based upon the question that you asked earlier about the fund balance related to the 2023 audit, I'll give you a breakdown of that. 4.2 million was related to accounts payable. 9.5 million was related to FEMA restricted cash for capital projects only. The CJ restricted cash had about 98,000 in it. Due to others, which was processing fee, DAPs, clerk records, NOPD property room, they get about 97,000 of that money. We had due to the Department of Public Safety for civilian backgrounds that we conduct. That was about 400,000. And then we also had a detail account that's kind of restricted for radios, video cameras, tactical gear, software, and maintenance for the deputies that they pay based upon their details. So that doesn't exist. That's failed. That money doesn't exist. That was from a 2023 audit that they reported on, and those funds don't exist. As of today, that balance is about 6.3 million that is still due out as of 2025.
And I know that you.
So if we could answer my question, we asked a question, nobody answered. Once again, we asked multiple times, is there a maintenance and service contract in place to take care of the deteriorating conditions within the pods and within the jail? We're also hearing that there's critical cameras that are not working.
So right now, we can't afford a maintenance service contract. We have maintenance staff that are on board that do the day-to-day. But right now, our current budget sits at about 68 million. 41.1 million comes from the city, 13 million comes from the village, and about 10.1 million a quarter is given to us. Right now, our payroll is about 9.6. Our food expenses is 780,000 a quarter. That eats up the money. We don't have the funding available to have a full maintenance contract to do this. We've explained this on multiple occasions. Just on Monday, we went to the City Planning Commission and we reported this out. We asked for the money to secure this. So the funding is not available to do what needs to be done.
So if your conditions are not appropriate enough to handle violent offenders like the ones that escaped today, have you all considered potentially shipping them elsewhere?
We can't.
Also, just
let him answer this question before you go.
Okay. All right, y'all. I'm going to get ready to shut it down here because, again, I know y'all have short attention span. And if the content too long and lengthy, y'all get, mentally burnt out quickly. So, I saw all that to pretty much get ready to wrap it up, bring it to the closure. We're going towards the closure. All of the monies they claim they don't have. They don't have money for this. They don't have money for that. They don't have money to get someone to come in and maintenance the jail. Oh, no, we got people that's already maintenance in the jail. Well, this is the problem. Maybe the maintenance people can't maintenance the damn jail because you got them supervising the inmates. One of your maintenance tech personnel, civilian workers, y'all had him supervising the inmates. So maybe that's why maintenance is not being done throughout the jail, because you got them doing other goddamn duties that an officer should be doing, because y'all doing something with the money. But rest assured, don't think that BOP Bureau of Prisons is not going to come in and audit every single penny. Because see, what they're trying to do is save their ass. They're trying to make it like, well, we spent money on this. That was already a debt that was already accumulated. We still paying off debts. Don't think that BOP is not coming in, standing on business. They're going to audit this jail. They're going to check those books. They're going to get down to the root of the problem, okay? So, y'all can dismiss me with that. You get what I'm saying? They got plenty of money. Plenty. The problem is, it's the ones up top doing what they want to do, while the ones to the bottom, like the officers, get paid pennies, and the civilian workers get paid chump change to maintain the jail, because the ones at top are being too greedy and too lazy to step in. Anyway, leave y'all comment below. Let me know what y'all think about this situation, this matter at hand. Do you really think the jail is trying to escape accountability, or do y'all really think they really don't have the funds, that the state really did not look out for them and gave them everything they needed to properly regulate the jail? What do y'all think? Leave y'all comment below. I'm going to read the comment section and see what you guys think, because I really want to get y'all opinion. Anyway, y'all enjoy the rest of y'all day, and I'll talk to y'all soon. Until then, y'all take care, and please hit that like button before you exit. Take care. Y'all have a good 3-day weekend. I'm out.